How's it going, fam? Welcome back to Erica's EDC, and today we are testing the Caleb's Cleavers Wapiti Hunter in VANAX. This is a very exciting knife. I have been wanting to test VANAX for a very long time. I've never been able to get my hands on it, and this is an absolute awesome piece. Caleb is a maker that I just recently started talking to. He's been making knives basically his entire life, but I had never actually heard of him. He's a little more on the forging side of the community, and somehow I've just never heard of his work before. I stumbled across it on Instagram. He knows a couple of the guys that I work with. We started talking, and he offered to send this Hunter in for testing and review, which I am very grateful for. It's a really cool knife. He let me pick the materials, the blade steel, everything, but this is a very thin and slicey piece of VANAX SUPERCLEAN. It is between 61 and 62 HRC. I think his pokes were 61.4 and 61.8, something like that. 10 thou BTE, so super slicey, extremely sharp. But this is a very large hunting knife. It's a little big for me. It's 9 inches overall, but it's perfect for what we're gonna do today, which is the chicken processing. So I already filmed the organ processing for the dog food. I did that with a different knife that I'm also doing some testing on, the Jake Gardner JG Craft Shop 8-inch belt knife in S35. And then I figured we could do the heavy duty work with this knife because it's a little more designed for it, I guess. We're gonna hack up a bunch of whole chickens for the dogs, but this is an absolutely beautiful piece. Just check out the handle work, the fit and finish, the grind, everything is absolutely beautiful. VANAX is a very stainless steel. There really should not be any staining happening on this at all. Great for a hunting knife, really. Very corrosion resistant, but I've just never been able to play around with this steel before, so I'm really stoked. And yeah, we're gonna see how it does processing some whole chickens today. But I figured I would just let you guys look at it real quick before it gets all gross in that process. And I also figured I could just tell you a little bit about the maker. Caleb's pretty young, but he was kind of born into the whole knife making business. Like I said, he forges. He was telling me his grandfather also did this, so one of those kind of like family tradition type things he's been making for I think 15 years. I believe he works for another company or something maybe, but then he also makes his own knives on the side. So this is his little business, Caleb's Cleavers. I think the last name is kind of ironic, but he just does phenomenal work. Very interesting way of doing the handles, which I've shown in previous videos, but he does that flat spot there, travels to about here, and then it all rounds out. And it is just extremely comfortable in the hand. This knife fits me very, very well. It is a large knife, and this is not something I could EDC, obviously, but it fills my hand really nicely for a 9-inch knife. Love how the back curls up here. You can really lock in on that part. Just super comfy. Really excited to do some processing with this. And I will link Caleb down below. He has an Instagram. He does absolutely insane work. I also really appreciate the wide variety of steels that he works with. He works with anything from 52-100, 80 CRV2, all the way up to MagnaCut, 3V, VANAX. VANAX is kind of a finicky steel. It doesn't have as wide of a range of heat treat options as some other steels. It cannot be brought up to like 67 HRC, for example. 62 is kind of its max out point. It's very much like LC200N, where it's just one of those steels where you don't actually really bring it above, 60, 61, 62. So this is about as hard as you can get this steel feasibly. I'm really excited. It has incredible geometry, should be super slicey during this task. but enough talking. Let's get into the actual processing. All right, guys, let's get started using this Caleb's Cleavers Wapiti hunting knife in VANAX. We've got some nice chickens here that we're going to process. Basically, I separate all of the different parts up and I freeze them for the dogs. It cleans their teeth. You can feed raw chicken bones just fine. It's the cooked splintered ones that are a problem. Don't, do any of this at home on your own without consulting your veterinarian. Basically, don't do anything I'm doing in this video. I've been feeding raw for 10 years, so we're gonna process these up. I want to take the wings off, the drumsticks, all of the meat. It'll all get separated, frozen. This will last quite a while for the dogs. So I'll just move these out of here. We'll do one at a time and just separate all the meat and see how this knife does. It should do very, very well. It is extremely, extremely thin and slicey. Oh yeah. This is one of the sharpest knives I've ever used in my life. It's one of those knives that just basically melts through everything. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's literally going to the dog. So I kind of just hack everything apart, freeze it, and let me see if I can, want to make sure you guys can see at least some of the stuff I'm doing. But this just literally melts right through everything it touches. Also, if you are squeamish, don't watch this. Clearly. Just trying to pull this out of the little socket here. There we go. Then we'll do the wings. This is great to clean my dog's teeth. Has loads of calcium and glucosamine for their joints. They've been eating like this their entire lives. It's really good for them. It's cheap in New Hampshire to feed your dogs raw too. Luckily we have great prices on this kind of stuff, so it's not easy for everyone, but I'm very, very lucky. And I can get a lot of the stuff like wholesale. We have co-ops around here. So we're just super lucky to be able to feed our dogs the best diet possible. But this is doing very quick work of everything. And they eat every single part of this. I will refreeze, well not refreeze, it was never frozen in the first place, they're fresh. I will freeze every single part and they will eat all of it. This will be like nearly a whole meal in itself with some organ. Trying to make sure I'm in frame here. You guys will probably hear the kids getting out of school, by the way. They're very loud. Taking some of the breast meat off here. And like I said, it's not going to be a perfect job at all because it doesn't have to be. It's all going to the same place. It's all just dog food, so I just try to portion it out to put into Ziploc bags. That way I can freeze it, because feeding it all squishy like this, they don't actually like the texture very much. They really like when it's frozen. So I just process it all while it's nice and squishy and then freeze it up. Also, there's no way I would have space for this in my fridge, you know. This thing is just an absolute laser beam. I'm really curious to see how the edge is after this, because we're clearly hitting bone during this process. It's kind of inevitable, especially because I have to separate all of the joints and such. So I'm curious to see if there's any microchipping on the edge after all of this, because it's so thin, but we'll see. No big deal if there is, but gotta be careful with those rib bones. They're super pokey. But my dogs just eat them right up. I've raised so many puppies on raw. The only bad thing about doing this out here is the flies, but we'll get through this pretty quick. Yeah, I've raised many, many puppies on raw food. There's another back. That's a full meal in itself. And don't worry, I sanitize the table after, all of the things. I promise. There's always going to be someone worried about germs and salmonella and all of the things, although a lot of people don't know dogs naturally produce salmonella in their gut anyway. Also, a lot of dogs in the world eat like very raw diets, or you know, eat from the trash. Like, look at street dogs, they live just fine. They eat all kinds of crazy stuff. Third one, here we go. I am loving this. Absolutely loving it. This is a fairly large knife for me. It's 9 inches long, and I'm a pretty small girl, but it is not causing any issues for me at all. Like, it doesn't feel too large in use. I'm able to maneuver this around just fine. I actually feel like for this particular task, this is about as small as I would want to go, just because that blade length really helps me. I don't have to focus on the blade too much. Like, the blade is nice and long where I can just full send, you know. I don't have to worry about actually hitting everything with the blade. It just touches everything easily because it's so long. So we're definitely hitting a lot of bone during this. This one's being finicky. Come on. This is probably more like an ASMR video than anything. Just a really gross one. If you've made it this far, you must be a knife nerd to watch this crap. 'Cause it is kind of gross. if you're squeamish. Man, the dogs are gonna be so excited. They always get really stoked to come out in the yard after I've done this because all the smells and everything, and freaking drips everywhere. Okay. Oh, we got some giblets. I can't believe how freaking sharp this knife is. It's actually scary. Like, he put a laser beam edge on it. Caleb, if you're watching this, well done. Very impressed. Come on. There we go. Oh, we got the fly party really coming in now. I gotta hurry up. My homeboys are here. My neighbors are probably looking out their window like, what the heck is wrong with this girl? She's out here all day cutting up dead chickens and frickin' doing weird stuff. One more, guys. One more. This thing is just awesome. I am really, really enjoying this knife. I'm curious if any of my other viewers feed raw. I'm figuring not, but I'm curious if anyone does. It's always cool to meet other people that feed their dogs raw food. There aren't really a ton in the knife community, but there's a whole raw feeding community of people, which I love. That's another community that I'm really into, is the raw feeding one. There's like a Facebook group and everything. I don't have Facebook, but when I was a teenager and I was part of that. Really cool group. Get the hell out of here, god damn it. All right, let's get these breasticles off, and then I think we're good. Go. Bam, 5 chickens processed in 14 minutes. Not too shabby. this micarta is still pretty grippy. Sweet. That thing did awesome. All right, well, guys, I gotta hurry up and go get my bags and get this out of the flies' dinner table. Hopefully you enjoyed that, though. I think it's always cool seeing knives actually used, and that thing did an amazing job. I will do an edge test after this and include it in the video, so I'll see you guys during that. All right, guys, we're back at the table here. I just went inside, washed my hands, washed the knife. You can actually probably see the micarta is looking really dry right now. The dish soap just dried it right out. I'll probably put some boiled linseed oil on this, kind of rehydrate it a little bit, but we've cleaned the blade. Let's see if we have any edge damage or anything. I definitely wasn't going super easy on those chicken bones. Chicken bones aren't hard necessarily, like it shouldn't really chip the blade, but this is a super thin blade, so it could have microchipped. Let's see. Wow. I don't think we have anything. Oh, skipping a little bit up at the tip, but all right. Let me just look. I don't see anything. Let's try that again here. It's super sharp. It's skipping a little bit right there, which is weird because I don't see any reflections or anything, so I don't actually know what that is. Like, I don't see any reflections on the apex, so no idea why it's skipping at that very tip, but just absolutely terrifyingly sharp still. So I would say that gets an A+ on the chicken processing. And this is a really cool design. This was absolutely perfect for that task. I definitely like using a larger blade like this. It just makes it easier. I have more reach. I can just kind of like hack through them and not really think about it. I understand that the knife is definitely too big for me, like I said, to carry per se, but for tasks like that, it's absolutely perfect. I really do like the sheath that it came with too. Nice thin orange Kydex sheath, goes right in the pocket, and this knife is not heavy at all. Snaps right in there, so you can carry it in the pocket like that, or put it on a belt. You can put a belt through there, but this is definitely a knife that I will continue using for that task because it's absolutely perfect for it. Super slicey. You guys saw it just like melting through all of that. So definitely passed with flying colors. Still super sharp. Really, really excited about this one. Check out Caleb's Cleavers over on Instagram. I will link him down below, but he does gorgeous, gorgeous work. I will hint that this is not the first and only piece I will get. Well, it is the first piece, but it's not the only piece I will get. We may or may not have something else in the works that can be used for a wider group of tasks, if you will. Array of tasks. But until next time, guys, hopefully you enjoyed. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. I'll see you on the next video. I love you so much, fam. Take care.